So you can see the remains of one, and then you have the one still standing. And that's some hunter's cabin. So we have a lot of hunting stories on Svalbard. And Svalbard has been a place where people were coming to overwinter. So they were spending the whole winter here, then catching as much as they could, and going back to the mainland with what they have enough. So the main things that were hunted here were polar bears, reindeers, seals, and then foxes. Basically every place where you have a bird cliff is a very good hunting ground. So you have seen probably a lot of hunting around here already.
Down below us there is the town of Pyramiden, and that is the former Soviet mining town. And this is the battery. This is the conveyor belt and the access tunnel that takes up to the mines. And all the mines here are up on the top of the mountain. It's quite strange. Normally, or certainly mines I'm accustomed to are underground from ground level. But all the mines in Svalbard seem to be close to the top of the mountains, which is quite different. We've reached what is I suppose the symbolic end of our journey. And in order to be here, it's necessary to have this. And it's an interesting lesson in what actually this world involves once you step away from civilization and from society. We kind of left society, we left Tespes in Longyearbyen, and we've come on one of the local boats to Pyramiden, which is the former Soviet mining station on Svalbard. And there's a noticeable change when you kind of step out of that realm of civilization. This gun that I've carried around now for a couple of days and not really needed to think about, suddenly I'm thinking that it's loaded now, and we are aware all the time that, you know, there could easily be a bear here. And it's a strange and interesting feeling. So it's the end of a 9-month trip, really. We left Shetland in October. It's now the solstice, summer solstice today, longest day of the year for most people. It's been daylight here for weeks, and I don't think there'll be any real noticeable change. And yeah, as Jill says, it's actually snowing now. So it is snowing on Midsummer's Day in Svalbard. So from now on, really, we've got a little bit more to have a look around up here, and then we're going to be starting our journey back and heading back towards home, and reflecting on some of the things that we've done, some of the things that we've learned on our trip. The pandemic has been strange and has given us a lot of lucky opportunities in some ways that wouldn't have been possible in a normal year. We found empty islands and empty harbours, and we've been able to go to places where quite often we might not have got because it would have been full. So that has been very useful. What do you think, Jill? I look for bears, you can talk.
Yesterday I found myself saying a sentence that surprised me. I said, shall we go and talk to the Russians first, or go and get the gun? That made me laugh.
Yes, and there is an irony that I'm now carrying a Second World War German army gun that I hired from a 19-year-old Russian girl, and she taught me how to use it. So there is a strange irony in that.
I've never been anywhere. Well, once in America I heard the sound of wolves, which made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, but I've never been anywhere where there is actually a predator that could be around at any moment. That's a very interesting feeling. The wildlife we've seen here has been amazing. When we arrived, straight away, the first anchorage, a walrus was rubbing itself up and down the hull. And the birds, it was a rough crossing, but the birds kept our spirits going, I think. Been Manx shearwaters all round the boat, kittiwakes at the top of the mast, the dolphins, whale sightings. It's like the way the world was before it became something to be consumed.
There's an interesting thing we've noticed here. So this Russian settlement kind of ended in 1990. So its heyday was kind of at the end of the 80s. And there's no plastic, or very little. There's very little plastic in this society. And what plastic there is like the hard, old-fashioned Bakelite style of plastic. And it's quite refreshing to see that, you know, the time when I was at school, we hadn't gone down that road of everything being disposable. Everything here is, you know, it's wood, it's metal, it's concrete, but that kind of disposable plastic hasn't arrived, or hadn't arrived at the time when this community was working.
Yes, and it looks like all of this could just rot back into the landscape. It's all the colour of the landscape anyway. It's the same hues. Nothing stands out garishly.
Except for bears.
Bears and high-vis technical trousers,
Yes,
of which Norway seems to be full.
Svalbard, everybody wears technical trousers in Svalbard. We've noticed that's the fashion. When you see a young woman walking around town, she has a gun on her back, technical trousers and neoprene wellies. That's the fashion in Svalbard. What else would you like to say? Have you enjoyed your trip?
Yes, I've been.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's been a long way to not enjoy it.
Well, the trip has been amazing, and to have actually got to Svalbard has been quite surprising.
When you look at it on a map, it doesn't seem so far. It's a little bit bigger than the North Sea, really, and we've done the North Sea on a number of times. But the Barents Sea is a significantly different piece of water. The translation of the Norwegian term for the portion of sea between Bear Island and Svalbard is the devil's. What was it? The devil's dance floor. And yeah, we certainly understand why.
And we've still got to get back.
We do still have to get back, but hopefully we'll be going back with the wind instead of against it. So yeah, it's not an insignificant trip to get here, even for a good boat. And I consider myself to be quite an experienced sailor, but it was still a tough trip, and still a lot of tough decisions to make on the way.
Well, the freak accident with the wine glass and the diesel tank.
Oh yeah.
Was a bit of a surprise on the way, where usually the wine glasses are perfectly secured in those tissues, and we've been across the North Sea and they've never moved. But the Barents Sea dislodged a wine glass which fell against the inspection tube on the diesel heating tank, put a hole in it, and then Davey had to try and get 20 litres of newly filled diesel out of the heating tank while I held a pan underneath, while the boat heaved and tossed around.
While the boat heaved and tossed around in 4 metre seas. That was
I was dealing with my seasickness okay up until then, but then I felt a little bit queasy.
So what next? So we've got another couple of days where we hope to go and visit some of the local glaciers and some of the spots where we might see a little bit of wildlife, and then we start looking for a window to get back to mainland Norway, and then start our trip back to the south, and hoping to be back in Shetland sometime in September. So quite a long way. It's I think it's over 1,000 miles. And we won't be rushing. We'll be taking our time and trying to enjoy it. Hope you've enjoyed the videos.
Hey, oh, don't nudge a man with a gun.
Don't nudge a man with a gun. A loaded gun.
Miod.
This one what do I start now? Is it coffee? Ah, yeah. No, coffee beans.
It's pretty warm down here.